Today I'm making the one quilt I always know is going to look stunning. It does not matter how ugly the fabric is or how inexperienced you are as a quilter, this pattern always works. Plus, if you've made this pattern before, I'll be showing you a brand new way to do it to save precious time and effort. That's how we love them, right? Let's start by using this lovely charm pack. You can use a jelly roll as well, or better yet, those ugly fabrics you've got hidden away or your scrap pile with leftovers from other projects. Now, there are a couple of ways to create the effect I'm looking for, from a 9 patch to using half square triangles, and I love those, you know that. But I'm actually using a simple rail fence variant for this. Intriguing, right? Let's cut all of these fabrics in half real quick. You can cut one at a time or stack them up or anything in between, really. From 42 5-inch squares to 84 2.5 by 5-inch bricks done in a jiffy. And now we add a solid fabric, and mine is white. We want 2.5-inch strips, 28 6.5-inch strips of the white fabric to be more precise, so we better keep cutting. Time to sew some colorful pairs. I have done this quilt pattern before, but I've never used this method. This is the very first time I'm trying this, so I'm hoping it goes well. I have this awesome image in my mind of what this quilt will look like, and I cannot wait to see the finished result. Now, I haven't planned on what fabrics I'm pairing. You know me. I like to do this as free flow as I possibly can. As long as I don't sew two same color fabrics together, I'm good. However, I am partial to some combinations, like red and blue or pink and purple. Anything purple, really. I am the hugest fan. We've got some cute pairs right here. I'm very excited. And now we cut them again. Let's make some square strips. So we took some squares, cut them in half into strips, then sewed them back into squares, and now we're cutting them into strips once again. How crazy is quilting? It will be worth it, I promise. Plus, we're playing with pretty fabric here. What's not to love about that? Now, the good thing about an easy quilt that always looks good is you can do it at any time with whichever fabrics you've got on hand, and you know it will work. Last minute gift, that fun project for when you don't have a lot of time but need some sewing magic to lift your spirits. Whatever the occasion, it will always leave you with a smile on your face. So this is what we have, and now we sew them back together, 3 pairs at a time. Now we add the white strip to the top of our pairs. Almost there, guys. Now we need to press, of course, so we can trim this into a 6.5-inch block. Here we go. This is what we need. Here's our rail fence variant ready to create the most awesome quilt pattern ever. Let's do this 27 more times. I talked about using scraps for this, and for some reason I get a lot of 2.5-inch strips as leftover fabric from my quilts. So those would be pretty perfect for this project. I just had to chop them up into 5 by 2.5-inch bricks and take it from there. Also, if your scraps are smaller than that, you can easily cut 2.5 squares and sew them into pairs, then sew those pairs in groups of 3 and add the bigger strip. As you can see, this pattern is not only easy and stunning, but it's also very versatile. Like for example, when I said in the beginning that we could make this using a 9 patch, well, we could if instead of the big white strip at the top, we sewed groups of 3 squares with a white one on top. Then, as we cut the strips made out of the 3 squares, 1 white and 2 in different colors, we'd get the exact same effect, except instead of a large strip, we'd have 3 white squares all lined up. Easy peasy. Any idea of what pattern I'll be making with this box? It is one of my absolute favorites. I love making it. This is going to be such a treat. Plus, railway fence quilt blocks are so awesome. I'm not sure how many variants I can show you with this particular one, but I made an awesome rainbow wash a while back using railway fence blocks that was stunning. The traditional version of this block is 3 strips of fabric sewn together, then cut into a square, and that's it. And those are my absolute favorite quilt blocks, the ones that are very simple to make but make stunning quilts once we're done. And here we have it, 28 quilt blocks ready to be turned into the most awesome quilt pattern that never disappoints. But before we do that, as promised, let's talk variants, shall we? What can we do with a railway fence quilt block that will look pretty gorgeous? And by now you're probably wondering, why didn't you just make the 3 strips and get it over with, right? That would be much easier and simple. Except I promised you this would look good even with crappy fabrics, and if there's one thing I've learned about ugly fabrics is that if it looks ugly, then you haven't cut it small enough. So in my head, even though there's nothing ugly about this fabric I'm using today, if we cut the strips into smaller squares, you can't really see the pattern, and that's what I'm going for. And these variants are cute and all, but I'm ready for the real deal. Let's make a chevron, or a zigzag. You know, chevron just looks fancier, I think. So it's all in the stacking of the blocks. We want 7 by 4, and all we need to do is turn them in different directions to create our zigs and our zags. These will be diagonal instead of horizontal, which to me adds to its charm. Everything looks better diagonally for some reason. It just looks more difficult to do when in fact, as you can see for yourself, there's really nothing to it. I'm doing these 7 by 4 squares because I want to use up all of my squares. So by the time we're done, this will be 24 by 42 inches, but you can add more squares. Like if you use 2 charm packs, you get a 48 by 42 inch piece, and if you kept adding those charm packs, you could grow it to whatever size you want. As is, it looks like a pretty cool table runner if you ask me. You know what comes next? Next, we just sew all these pretty blocks together. I asked you the other day about sewing in bulk versus making one quilt block at a time, and I was happy to see most of you are like me. Do a first complete block first, and then, if approved, bulk sew the whole thing. I really do think that's the best way to sew when you're quilting, but I totally get it when people do one block at a time. You get to enjoy seeing the blocks come to life one at a time, and it kind of makes them more special instead of just chain sewing the whole thing and just getting this blur of pretty fabrics go by you until they're all done. For sewing the blocks together, it's kind of the same thing. You can add one block at a time and watch your quilt grow, or you can sew pairs and then pair those into bigger groups until the whole row is done. If you're a beginner or just easily distracted like I am, I advise sewing one at a time so you don't mess up the pattern by sewing the wrong side of the pair or something. Or when in doubt, just take a picture of the whole pattern so you don't mess up. And just like that, we are done. Look at this! How cute does this look? A lovely chevron pattern made with tiny squares that would make even the ugliest fabric look awesome, or the most inexperienced quilter look like a pro. As promised. Plus, it was a lot of fun too. I had an absolute blast. And if you had as much fun as I did, you will love this next video. I'll see you soon. Bye bye!